All right, welcome into PFF HQ here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Us and all the shows you're going to be looking at this morning, people are there in suits, they're looking all fancy, but that's not how people watch football.
It's not.
People watch football from a couch in sweatpants, so here we are.
I actually don't watch football in sweatpants.
You don't?
I'm more of a striped shirt guy.
Okay, well, I'm in the sweatpants,
There you
so
go.
between the two of us, we are appropriately casual, looking to preview this week's slate of games. Last week, we went through all the best graded players for each team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a little bit too optimistic. I don't think it's realistic enough. What we're going to do this week, I think, is go through the reason that your team is going to lose today.
Yeah, I like
really,
that. I like that a lot.
Really highlight the thing that's causing problems right now on every single team.
If they're going to lose, this is why.
This is the reason why.
Nice.
This week, we've at least coordinated so that we're going to go through the right order.
Yeah, that's huge.
So that we're both in the same place rather than you just picking a random game and expecting me to roll with it. So let's start NFC North battle. Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, and a bit of sort of late, relatively late-breaking news and major news. Matthew Stafford out of this game with a back injury, which means Jeff Driscoll is starting.
Yes.
And that probably ticks the box in terms of why the Detroit Lions are going to lose this game.
Yeah, they're going to lose this game because Matthew Stafford won't be playing in it.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford has very flown on the radar as one of the better, highly graded quarterbacks in the NFL. He ranks 8th in PFF passing grade, up until this week, and he has had a very good year. The offense is good for him this year, a very high average depth of target, allowing him to be aggressive with the football, push the ball downfield to Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay. He's had a great year. Jeff Driscoll, I don't think he has that same success. I think he's going to struggle to win in this offense, and the Bears' defense is still very good. It's not what it was last year, but it's still very good, and I think Khalil Mack feasts. I think Jeff Driscoll, hangs a couple interceptions on this one, and Bears win pretty easily.
The interesting thing, though, will be that, Driscoll, I think, is the type of quarterback that fits in that high aggression type of system. Just go out there, throw the YOLO balls, see what happens. Stafford's average depth of target has been insane this year, off the end of the scale. If Driscoll plays that kind of ball, he's got weapons. Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, there are guys there that can make that work. It'll be interesting to watch at least. On the other side of the ball, the quarterback is also the reason they're going to lose this game.
Exactly.
If there is something out there worse than Jeff Driscoll, it's 2019 Mitchell Trubisky.
He has really struggled this year, and what's been crazy to me is that we went into this year not super high on Mitchell Trubisky. He ranked outside the top 25 in PFF's quarterback rankings. We did not see him as one of the better starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and Bears fans, threw tomatoes at us. We're really upset with what we said about Mitchell Trubisky. We thought we were unfair, biased, whatever it is. Couple weeks into the season, these Bears fans have completely turned against Mitchell Trubisky, want to go after a quarterback in this year's draft. I think Chase Daniel may be a better option. It's been very bad for the Windy City and their fans right now because Mitchell Trubisky is simply not accurate with the football, struggles from a decision-making standpoint, and when under pressure, makes too many mistakes to have success in the NFL. I think if Jeff Driscoll beats Mitchell Trubisky on the road in Soldier Field, I mean, come on. That is insane. I think you have to move on from the guy sooner rather than later.
Well, look, it's one of those holy tenets of gambling. You always bet on the better quarterback, and in this game, that might be Jeff Driscoll.
Yep, there you go. Quarterback getting points. Right now, Chicago, the line has moved to -6.5 in favor of Chicago. But, Driscoll, like you said, he gets in this offense. He gets aggressive, gets a couple touchdowns through the air here. Mitch Trubisky's going to struggle to put up points because I do think I like the Lions' defense this year.
Yeah.
It hasn't been great. It hasn't been. They got beat down by Oakland a few weeks ago, but I think there's some playmakers there. I think Detroit could surprise some people.
All jokes aside, there shouldn't be much between these two quarterbacks, as scary as that is. Driscoll is a guy that is cruising around the league as a backup. Turns out he's the Lions' backup. I think a lot of people probably didn't even know that.
Yeah.
There probably isn't that much difference between him and the way Trubisky is playing. Last year, we had about 350 snaps worth of play of Jeff Driscoll, and it was graded better than current Mitchell Trubisky. So that genuinely might not be crazy. Let's move on to Baltimore at the hometown Cincinnati Bengals. We were just out grabbing pre-show bagels and saw people in both Baltimore and Cincinnati jerseys in the bagel ring.
Yeah, I think Bengals fans are going to be disappointed today if they do show
so
up.
Why are they going to lose?
Ryan Finley's starting quarterback for them, and I don't think it's Ryan Finley's fault. I think it's the surrounding cast. The offensive line is hands down the worst in football right now. They have tried different options at guard. Billy Price looks like a dud. Both offensive tackles have struggled significantly, more so Bobby Hart. And then defensively, they're giving up points in bunches. The linebacking core is still a weakness for this team, and William Jackson III has not been able to regain what he was in 2017, one of the better cornerbacks in 2017, what we thought was the start of a very bright future for the former Houston first-rounder. But It hasn't been great since then. He's given up plays, penalties here and there. I think the Bengals, 10-point underdogs in this one. I think that Ravens could go in here and lay a goose egg on them. I think that Cincinnati Bengals lose pretty handily here.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the offensive line, and it's important, I think, to state the things at play here, right? Because it's looking bad across the board anyway. It's got a terrible grade. It's allowing a ton of pressure, 116 total pressures this season. Only both Los Angeles franchises have allowed more total pressures from the offensive line. Their pass blocking efficiency is bad, but it's worse than it looks because Andy Dalton has got the ball out of his hands faster than any other quarterback in the NFL this year. They have been going out of their way to hide how bad the offensive line is with the scheme and with Dalton. Now, if there's one thing that shifting from a veteran quarterback to a young guy tends to do, it is increase your average time to throw because those young guys, you hear it all the time, the game is too fast for them. And what that means is it's not that they make too many mistakes and put the ball in the air too often. It's that they pause, they hesitate to beat in the pocket, and that gives pass rush a longer time to get there. So as bad as that offensive line has looked to now, it's probably going to look worse today.
And I'll say this, Zach Robinson, when he was still with PFF before he went to be the quarterbacks coach of the Los Angeles Rams, he praised Ryan Finley for his processing ability, understanding the game. He thought he moved through his progressions well, made good decisions with the football, and he was one of the better intermediate passers in college football. He led all quarterbacks in 2018 in passing yards gained on throws from 10 to 19 air yards, and he's good at that. He doesn't have a great arm, but he keeps the offense on schedule in good situations. The problem is he's not going to have a good situation in Cincinnati. There's going to be pressure regardless of how quick he's throwing the football. Defense is going to give up points, and the Ravens, it's going to be tough to get. This is one of the tougher first career starts for a young quarterback I think I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a real problem. Tell me how the Baltimore Ravens are going to lose this game, because I honestly can't find a good way.
I honestly can't either. I even think if Lamar Jackson gets hurt and they throw Trace McSorley back there, they still win this game. I don't know. I think it would have to be on the defensive end because the Ravens defense has played well in bits, but I still don't think it's a strength for this team. I still think they're struggling to create pressure with Terrell Suggs gone and Zadarius Smith off the roster. And in the secondary, they have a ton of playmakers. Is one of the better secondaries from a talent standpoint, but pass rush has been bad. Maybe Ryan Finley dices them up, but again, I don't see the Ravens losing this game.
No, I really can't find too many ways that's even possible. I guess you would have to say turnovers, right?
Yeah.
Turnovers are the thing that can make a game go crazy from a score standpoint. If the Bengals get a couple of turnovers, break their way, and just establish a lead, and some crazy stuff breaks their way.
But the thing about that too, though, is Lamar Jackson has been so much better at protecting the football. He had a fumble problem a year ago that has regressed significantly, and he's not throwing the ball in harm's way. He has very few interceptions and very few turnover-worthy plays this year. I think it's going to be very safe football offensively that's going to have big plays because Lamar Jackson is a highlight reel waiting to happen. Again, I think the Ravens cover that 10.2.
Okay, let's move on. Buffalo Bills at Cleveland Browns. I think for the Browns, it's pretty obvious, right? It's Baker Mayfield and that offense generally just not being able to get itself together. It's been the story all the way through the season. Mayfield's grade continues to slide. The offensive line continues to be bad. Even guys like Odell Beckham, who we expect to be a superstar, not grading anything like as well as we've seen him in the past. Everything across the board on the offensive side is ugly, and if they don't get their house in order, the Bills have the kind of defense that will shut them down.
Yeah, I mean, the way the Browns lose this game is if Baker Mayfield plays like he has to start the season.
Right.
Turning the ball over, bad decisions, a ton of poor decisions under pressure specifically, doesn't get Odell Beckham Jr. involved, and I think doesn't get Nick Chubb involved. I think there are a ton of ways why this Browns team loses this game, and it starts with Baker Mayfield and that offense. I want to jump right to how the Bills lose this game, though.
Do it.
The way the Bills lose this game is if they have Josh Allen heaving it deep all the time. They need to stay away from, Devin Singletary looked very good in the last Bills game, and we don't advocate for running the football here, but Josh Allen has struggled with accuracy this season. He can make bad decisions,
particularly deep.
Yeah, particularly deep down the field. He's one of the lowest graded quarterbacks, throwing 20 or more air yards down the field. That is a problem, and I think Josh Allen, like you said, turnovers can help an underdog here. I think turnovers hurt the Bills, and Josh Allen is very capable of having some turnovers.
Definitely, and it's an interesting sort of view of how perception works, right? The Browns are struggling. They're losing games, so Baker Mayfield is terrible. Josh Allen, the Bills are winning, so he's great, and yet Josh Allen actually has a worse grade than Baker Mayfield. For as much as he's in a better situation right now and the team is rolling, he's not playing that well.
And that comes down to the turnover-worthy plays. Like Josh Allen just simply puts the ball in harm's way and is inaccurate with the football more than most quarterbacks, more than the top half of the league. And when you have a quarterback like that, it's hard to grade well in PFF system. You have to be accurate with the football and not put the ball in harm's way, and that's what Josh Allen does more than you'd like to see from a starting quarterback.
The next one is another fun one in terms of trying to come up with a way that one team wins this game. We got the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. How on earth are the Saints going to lose this game? Because that's not an easy one to find either.
Yeah, and again, if you even said Drew Brees goes down with an injury, I think Teddy Bridgewater comes in and dices him up. The Falcons' defense has been bad, and that is a huge egg on the face of Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, a defensive-minded coach, and I think this team has talent. Desmond Trufant won't play in this game, and that really sucks for them because you're going to have to force Isaiah Tolliver to take on a bigger role against a very good New Orleans Saints offense with Michael Thomas kind of leading the show. I don't know. I don't know how the Saints lose this game. I think, it'd have to come back to turnovers, but we're forcing it right now because the defense is really good, too. The Saints' defense is one of the better defenses in football. Marshawn Lattimore having a really good season. The pass rush looks good. Marcus Davenport has taken a step forward. I really see the Saints winning this one pretty handily.
Yeah, I think that's what everything looks like, but it is a division game. Sometimes things go weird. It's in a dome, so Matt Ryan does get that working in his favor. You've got Julio Jones, which means you're only ever a heartbeat away from a big play. I think that's what it would take. It would take Julio Jones massively taking advantage over the matchup, whichever way he gets. Most of the time, it's been Marshawn Lattimore, but we have seen the Saints defense put Eli Apple on Julio Jones and sort of platoon it that way. Either way, I think Julio has the advantage, even against Lattimore over the entirety of their careers. He's catching about 66% of those targets. He's got a passer rating of 80-something. If he can make a couple of big plays, get them out to a lead, that's the only way I can think of that happens. What about the other side? Where do the Falcons lose this game other than everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they've been very bad, and I think they're going to give up a ton of big plays today. I think Michael Thomas has a field day against that banged-up secondary, and I think the problem is I don't think this version of Matt Ryan, is capable, especially going against a very good Saints defense, of making this a shootout. Right now, he only has 10 big-time throws, 12 turnover-worthy plays. That ratio is never good. You never want to be in the negative on those side of things. He needs to make those big-time throws. He needs to have those big plays to Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, etc., if they're going to make this a shootout. Because if you're going to win, you're going to need to put up a ton of points against Drew Brees and the Saints. I think that's not going to happen today. I think the Saints are going to roll. It's an easy dub, I think, for Drew Brees and company.
They're another team who I think the offensive line basically precludes them from being able to win this. That offensive line is not going to hold up long enough to get in a shootout with Drew Brees and the Saints. Drew Brees and the Saints on the other side have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, so that part is a massive mismatch as well. Now, the battle of New York/New Jersey. The New York Giants at the New York Jets. How do the Jets lose this game first?
Sam Darnold continues to play like he has. Right now, among all quarterbacks, the 31 quarterbacks with at least 200 dropbacks this year, he's the lowest graded quarterback. He has right now 7 big-time throws, 12 turnover-worthy plays. He's putting the ball in harm's way.
In passing grade,
In
right?
passing grade. PFF passing grade. I apologize for that. PFF passing grade, 31st ranked. But he has not played well. And in that, I don't think he's benefited from that offense. Chuma Edoga has struggled significantly at tackle, and they haven't been able to get Robbie Anderson involved as much as they want. Jamison Crowder is not a big play waiting to happen. You need Robbie Anderson for that offense to really hum. And I've been really disappointed, honestly, with the quarterback whisperer in Adam Gase. I expected him to come into this team and improve that offense, and it has really taken a step back. I think they're very conservative, very quick average time to throw, doesn't push the ball downfield a ton, and he's not helped by a bad offensive line, but this offense has been really underwhelming, and if you lay an egg against Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, I think the Jets lose this one.
In terms of PFF grade, overall grade for quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, 48.9, Mitchell Trubisky, 48.5. So as much as everybody, even Mitchell Trubisky stans, have basically jumped off that bandwagon and run for the hills. Sam Darnold is playing about that badly.
That's bad.
You
don't want to be in Trubisky's territory. You don't want to be in Trubisky territory.
The two of those players have combined for 11 touchdowns, which is the same as Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones didn't start for the first couple weeks of the season. Now, okay, Darnold missed some time as well, but those guys are not playing well. In fact, both of them did. But so if the Jets lose this game, it's on Sam Darnold, it's on the quarterback. How are the Giants losing?
It's the same. It's the quarterback. I mean, you look at Daniel Jones, he's graded better than Sam Darnold this year, but he has a legitimate problem at turning the ball ball over. 19 turnover-worthy plays this year. Double-checking the rank here. That's second behind Jameis Winston. That's another name you don't want to be tied with when it starts talking about turnovers. He has a fumbling issue. He's been fumbling the football at an alarming rate, and he's throwing picks that leave people scratching their heads. I think Daniel Jones, as much as people want to already call him Danny Dimes, he's this volatile quarterback, and it's funny that he is ranked right next to Jameis Winston because he's a bit of a roller coaster. And when the roller coaster's high, it's Danny Dimes, the hashtags come out, Giants tweet out delete, delete, delete on people's pre-draft takes. But when the lows come around, you're not surprised by those either because he's still inaccurate with the football, puts the ball in harm's way, and he fumbles the football a ton.
I'll give you another reason the Giants could lose. Deandre Baker, their first-round rookie cornerback, has been getting absolutely smoked. And if he has to cover somebody like Robbie Anderson, that could be ugly.
And the problem with, I want to stay on Deandre Baker. The problem with Deandre Baker, and I think we had him, I think, high in our pre-draft, but we did say a problem is he takes advantage of the NCAA's no contact rule, like beyond 10 yards or whatever, a lot. Like when receivers would start to beat him on a streak, he would just blast them, and you just can't do that in the NFL. When you're going against an Amari Cooper, I like today, Robbie Anderson, he doesn't have the speed to stick up with these guys, and he needs to find a way to win that at the line of scrimmage, not 5-10 yards down the field with that contact.
And if that was his only problem, we might have something to work with. But he's also, there's coverage bust. He doesn't seem to understand the defense as well as he needs to as well. There's all kinds of things going wrong. He's given up 6 touchdowns so far, a passer rating of 151.4.
Jeez.
That's almost perfect. 5 penalties as well. It's just been ugly for Deandre Baker. He's been bad enough that the Jets could jump all over that with a couple of big plays and jump out to a lead. Arizona Cardinals at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How are the Bucs losing?
I got to bring up Jameis. I'm sorry. A lot of these losses are going to come down to quarterback play, and Jameis Winston leading the NFL in turnover-worthy plays. If he continues to turn the ball over, which is he's not going against a great Arizona Cardinals defense, but he turns the ball over against the Cardinals. Kyler Murray has played well in recent weeks. That offense looks better. I think they're running against light boxes. Chase Edmonds, doesn't matter who's running the football. Kenyon Drake had a ton of success against the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think they obviously didn't win that game, but I think this offense, the Cardinals' offense, is good enough to take advantage of Jameis Winston turnovers. That's how the Bucs lose. If Winston goes low on the roller coaster today, you could see the Cardinals go into Tampa Bay and take this W.
Like, Jameis has made a lot of big plays as well, but it's the volume of bad plays has been incredible this year. 22 turnover-worthy plays. So those are plays that we think were bad enough that they could have been either picked, fumbled, whatever. 22 of those. It's 3 more than any other quarterback in the NFL. It's 7 more than any other quarterback not named Daniel Jones. So, like, Jameis has just been, like, letting rip and horrible care with the football, which has only resulted in 14 interceptions, which, granted, leads the league. But it could have been a lot more than that. Jameis has just been incredibly careless with the football so far. And, we talked before that turnovers are those plays that can absolutely crucify a team, and Jameis is basically just one of those waiting to happen on pretty much every single dropback. What about the Cardinals? How are they going to lose if they lose?
Yeah, I think it comes to the defense. Excuse me. It comes to the defense for the Cardinals. They have not had a ton of playmakers there. Even when Budda Baker had some highlight plays against the San Francisco 49ers, he got wrecked a handful of times as well. They're looking for playmakers on that defense, and looking at their grades, highest graded player right now is Chandler Jones on the Arizona Cardinals defense, and he's played well. He's under the radar, one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. He has an 87.8 pass rush grade through 10 weeks, but the problem is after him, there isn't a ton of guys having success. Terrell Suggs has graded well, but even he has a 69.3 overall grade, and then you start to look in the secondary, a lot of people have struggled for the Arizona Cardinals. Deontay Thompson, even the rookie Byron Murphy, who has flashed in bits. I think he has 7 or 8 forced incompletions on the year. He hasn't had a ton of success when asked to do some certain things. I think this secondary struggles. The defense isn't good. And Jameis Winston, when the roller coaster's up, can put up points. And Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, that is a tough task for a rookie in Byron Murphy and even Patrick Peterson, who got toasted against Emmanuel Sanders and the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, ultimately, when you look across the board at this Cardinals roster, they're doing well, they're moving in the right direction, but there is still a huge lack of talent almost across the board. Ultimately, they are very prone to getting exposed if the team they're facing shows up. And the Bucs are definitely well capable of doing that. Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. Patrick Mahomes back in action. How does the Titans lose this one?
Yeah, looking at the Titans, I think Ryan Tannehill has played well in recent weeks. He's racked up some fantasy points as well. He's been highlighted as one of those guys to start if you are streaming quarterbacks, but he still is capable of turning the ball over, and it's still not a great offense. I mean, A.J. Brown has flashed at times, but even he has struggled with drops. Corey Davis is a forgotten member of that team. He isn't a game changer like he was expected to be coming out of Western Michigan. I don't think, even with as good as Ryan Tannehill is playing of late, they have enough firepower to compete with a healthy Patrick Mahomes and an Andy Reid offense. I think this needs to be a shootout to win, and I don't think Ryan Tannehill has enough shots to really shoot it out.
No.
That was terrible.
Yeah,
shots to shoot it out made no
awful.
sense.
No, that was bad. I will give this game features one of the most lopsided one-on-one matchups we're going to see this entire weekend. Rookie right guard Nate Davis from the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, man.
From Charlotte. Big, bruising guy, not the best technique in the world right now. Going up against Chris Jones, who is a top 10 caliber pass rusher for the Chiefs. Right now, Nate Davis has a PFF grade of 29.2. 0 to 100 scale, 29.2. Billy Price, who you mentioned, has been an absolute train wreck to the point where arguably the worst offensive line in the NFL benched him.
Yeah.
Decided, you know what, it's not worth putting him out there. Has a PFF grade of 35.6. So Davis is another like 6 points lower than that, and he's going up against Chris Jones. That is so most of the times you're not going to find a one-on-one matchup in the trenches deciding a game. That is honestly so lopsided that it could. Like Chris Jones could have 5 sacks, absolutely wreck this Titans offense single-handedly unless they find a way to help out Nate Davis in this game.
What's crazy is Nate Davis and Renner and I were talking, Mike Renner, another colleague of ours here at PFF, talking about Nate Davis and why he just simply should not be playing right now. Looking at his tape at Charlotte, he had that, do you remember the frog stance?
Yeah.
Where like he would be so low to the ground. Like his technique needed to be completely reworked for him to be a capable starting NFL guard, and I don't think it has yet. And he's still struggling with the NFL speed. I think he's a big bruiser, strong dude, but he's still, I think, years away before he's like a starting guard and playing at a high level.
What about how do the Chiefs lose if they're going to lose this game?
Chiefs lose is this defense hasn't played well. It's been a weakness for this team for a while now, and Ryan Tannehill has played well. I don't think they have enough firepower to take advantage of a bad defense, but Darren Lee is one of the lowest graded linebackers in the NFL right now. Bashad Breeland has not had success in coverage, and he's a primary corner for them. And Damian Wilson and Anthony Hitchens, 2 other linebackers that have been victimized in coverage. I think if they can take advantage of those weaknesses with an A.J. Brown, with the Corey Davis, things get interesting. But again, it's going to be hard for them to do that because A.J. Brown and Corey Davis have not had consistent success. They need to turn it on against Kansas City and take advantage of these matchups.
Yeah, Tannehill has not been good, but the key difference between him and Mariota is he has at least shown the willingness to take the shot when it's given to him. Right?
Yes.
And this Chiefs secondary is bad enough, particularly a cornerback, that he will take a shot and give those guys like A.J. Brown a chance to make a play. You know, guys like Kendall Fuller is giving up a passer rating of 135. They've given up scores. They've given up yardage. It's set up for Tannehill to actually take some shots and show up big. It's just a case of whether he can actually pull that out or not. Miami Dolphins at the Jacoby Brissett-less Indianapolis Colts. How do the Colts lose this game?
Brian Hoyer, throws similar interceptions today threw when he first came into that game.
But he played well.
He did play well after that pick.
Yeah.
The pick to Minka Fitzpatrick was terrible. In the red zone, not good. And I think, how they lose? Ryan Fitzmagic lights it up because he's been a roller coaster for sure. But what I love about Fitzpatrick is that he's willing to be aggressive with his noodle arm. He does not care. He is pathologically disposed to being aggressive with the noodle. Dude just throws it deep, and I think when you are throwing it deep and being aggressive with the football, yes, it's a risk. It's a risky play, but when it works, it hits. And they're going to be without Preston Williams. That's a concern. I think he was one of the better players offensively for the Miami Dolphins. But as long as you got Fitzmagic back there and Brian Hoyer, who doesn't have a ton of reps this season with the starting offense for the Colts, and Pierre Desir, the cornerback, is doubtful, I could really see this Dolphins team pull off an upset.
Only 6 turnover-worthy plays so far by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, okay, he's missed a lot of time, but for him.
Not bad.
For him, that's quite a good ratio.
That is a nice ratio.
How about the Dolphins? How are they going to lose the game other than the fact that they have the worst roster in the NFL?
I think that's a big part of it. I also think you could see the downside of the Ryan Fitzpatrick roller coaster against the Colts defense. I think their pass rush is very good, even without Pierre Desir. The rookie cornerback, Marvell Tell out of USC, was really good in Pierre Desir's stead last week. I think he's going to have success. They don't have, the Miami Dolphins, outside of Ryan Fitzmagic, don't have a ton to help him. He doesn't have a great supporting cast. The offensive line is bad. The receiving core isn't great. Now they're trotting out random running backs that people haven't heard of outside of Kalen Ballage. There just isn't enough talent on this roster to have success against good defenses, and I think the Colts have one.
Yeah, basically this game comes down to either side of Fitzmagic. If they get high-end Fitzmagic, the Dolphins could potentially win this game. If they get anything other than that, they're losing because the Colts are a significantly better roster, even with Brian Hoyer as their starting quarterback.
Bingo.
Carolina Panthers at the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is mad. They got whooped last week by the Chargers. Is this a bounce-back game? If not, how do they lose?
I think it is a bounce-back game, but if they are going to lose, that offense looked terrible against Los Angeles. Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers didn't look good either. You throw out the Aaron Rodgers that we saw against the Chargers, against the Panthers defense that right now ranks 8th in PFF's ELO ranking, and I think that's kind of flying under the radar. James Bradbury having a good year for them. I think the pass rush has improved with Bruce Irvin, Brian Burns, the rookie out of Florida State. I think that defense is really good. I'd say better than what the Los Angeles Chargers trot out. And but again, it's in Lambeau.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen starting at quarterback. I think they're going to sell out to stop Christian McCaffrey. I think Green Bay Packers bounce back. They're 4.5 favorites right now, but PFF Green Line, available to all elite subscribers. Leaning toward the Packers in this one.
So here's the thing. I think if the Packers are going to lose, it's going to be because their defense doesn't show up, right? Earlier in the season, their defense looked fantastic. It looked like a thing that was going to propel them towards championships with Aaron Rodgers playing better. Since then, it really hasn't been that good. It slipped down to the mid-table in our overall PFF grades. If you look just at run defense, it's down all the way at 24th. And they're going up against Christian McCaffrey, who will be given an absolute workload up the middle. So
every year, every game, he gets so much. So
you're going to get a ton of workload with Christian McCaffrey. They haven't really shown they can stop him, and then the back end has been giving up plays as well. And again, Kyle Allen is a quarterback who, if given the opportunity, can make some plays. So I'm concerned about whether this Green Bay defense was something of a mirage earlier in the season, or if they can actually play to that kind of level again. What about the Panthers? How are they losing the game if that comes to pass?
Yeah, if the Panthers lose, I think Christian McCaffrey limited. If the Green Bay Packers find a way to keep him under 50 scrimmage yards, they're going to lose this game.
50 scrimmage yards?
50, receiving.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an optimistic.
I know. I'm saying if they can hold him under that, I think the Panthers don't win.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm trying to get a little aggressive here.
Yeah.
Sorry to get aggressive on you. But if Christian McCaffrey doesn't have a good day, it's going to be a Panthers loss. That's as simple as that.
I mean, the other way I think is you do get mad Aaron Rodgers coming back to prove a point.
No one likes a mad Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Man.
To prove a point that they are actually better than they showed last week. That could be a problem for this Carolina defense to contain. 2 more games to get through on the Sunday slate. Los Angeles Rams, Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Pittsburgh Steelers don't win this game, it's because they have Mason Rudolph a quarterback, and he hasn't shown he can actually play that well, right?
Yeah, I would say that. Also, I think offensively, they haven't been able to get anything out of Juju Smith-Schuster. No level of consistency from him, forcing them to push targets to James Washington, Deontay Johnson, who I think are capable receivers, can offer value, but Mason Rudolph isn't a great quarterback. I understand that, but he needs some help from these receivers. He needs people to get open, create separation, so he's got some open throws. I think part of that's on the receivers to get open, and also on the Pittsburgh Steelers offense to scheme open throws for this guy, run some play action, do those type of things. And they don't have to run the football. James Conner battling injuries and a ton of other Pittsburgh Steelers running backs battling injuries. You don't just have to feed the football to these backup running backs. Put the ball in the air, but scheme open throws for Mason Rudolph. And I think you can beat down on a Rams defense that has played well this year, but I think you can beat them down. I think the Steelers lose, though, if they don't do that, if they don't scheme open throws for Mason Rudolph, if Juju Smith-Schuster continues to struggle, it's going to be hard to beat the Rams.
Rudolph down there in the slightly above Trubisky, Darnold range of PFF grades, around 50. His big thing is, he's made some mistakes. We expect that from a young quarterback, but the real problem in his game is just a complete absence of big-time plays. Big-time throws, 4 of them on the season so far. It's an unacceptable volume. Jacoby Brissett is one of those Alex Smith type pathologically conservative quarterbacks, and he has 2 more than that. So if you're going to be that kind of caliber quarterback, you have to either massively limit those negative plays, or you have to, grow a pair and throw some more dangerous passes a little bit to try and get some of those big-time throws. So if the Steelers don't win, I think it's just because Rudolph wasn't able to man up enough and deliver some big-time plays.
Didn't grow a pair.
Exactly. What about the Rams? How are they losing this game?
You know how they lose is that Rams' offensive line is bad. One of the worst in football right now.
Arguably the worst.
Yeah, it's regressed significantly. Andrew Whitworth, who I believe is their highest graded offensive tackle, or highest graded offensive lineman, doesn't even have a grade above 70.0. And in addition to that, Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt are playing well this year. This Pittsburgh Steelers defense is playing well. Right now, entering week 10, they rank 7th in PFF's ELO defense ranking, and it's because of the improved pass rush up front. And on the back end, Minkah Fitzpatrick has been a game changer for them in playing that deep safety role where maybe I would have suggested him playing in the slot, but they found a way to put him at free safety and really thrive. They're not making him play a ton of different positions. He's playing that deep safety role and having a ton of success. This Steelers defense is good. And Jared Goff hasn't had a ton of success this year, and that Rams offense is not the same with a bad offensive line like they have right now.
Yeah. Whitworth, by far the best graded player on it, an overall grade of 69.7. The next guy, the next best, 55, 54, 51, 44, 40, 26.
Jeez. Who's 26?
Jamil Demby. So he's only played, 146 snaps.
Gotcha.
So low amount, but every time they have to turn to him. That's kind of, it just emphasizes the problem, right? Is the second they have to go into the bench, it's even worse than what's already terrible. So, yeah, this offensive line has been an absolute disaster for the Rams. That hurts Todd Gurley. That hurts Jared Goff. It hurts everything in the offense, and it is bad enough that it could cost them the game. Now, Sunday Night Football, the game of the week. What do you see happening here? How are the Dallas Cowboys losing this game?
First, PFF's Game of the Week, what that means is if you're not an Edge or Elite subscriber, you don't subscribe to PFF, you can still go to PFF Greenline, click into the Game of the Week, and see all that Greenline offers you, see all of the nuggets that we do provide there, the betting advice here and there. But to start, how the Dallas Cowboys lose this game, it's hard to say. I think they win this one, dude. In Dallas, I think they're going to win this one. But
that's not what we're working for.
That's not what we're working for. I understand that. But, okay, here's how they lose. They feed rushes to Ezekiel Elliott. They try and establish the run through the first 3 quarters, limit Dak to only third down passes on 3rd and 12, and ruin him that way. How they win, early down passing attack, do not feed the ball to Ezekiel Elliott for unnecessary reasons. Obviously, he's going to get involved, but do not establish the run in this game. No. Know that the run is already established. It was established years ago. Throw the ball to Amari Cooper, one of the highest-graded receivers in football right now, with Dak Prescott, who's one of the highest-graded quarterbacks. Put the ball in the air. If you're Dallas, the offensive line is good. They will pass protect against a good Minnesota Vikings pass rush. But how you lose is you just try and put your head down, hat on hat, Ezekiel Elliott, run the football.
Okay, that's not a bad way. I will give you a different way they lose this game. They lose the matchup of trying to contain, in particular, Dalvin Cook, but also those Vikings tight ends, the guys that work the middle of the field that find their way matched up on linebackers, safeties, that kind of thing. Usually, we expect Dallas to be good there because that group of linebackers, Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, etc., they're incredibly talented, but they're just not playing that well this year. Dalvin Cook is playing out of his mind, and if he gets matched up on a Jalen Smith or those players, Sean Lee has been playing because Leighton Vander Esch has been banged up. All of those linebackers giving up a passer rating of over 100 when targeted. They've given up touchdowns. They've given up big plays. Dalvin Cook has been making everybody look ridiculous this year. The Vikings are going to be sort of forced to play that game because they're down Adam Thielen. They're down where they want to go out on the outside. They've got Stephon Diggs. Everybody they have left basically is a passing threat, operates best inside or over the middle. It's going to be fascinating to see if Dallas can bottle that up or if they just lose that matchup game. That's how they lose if they're going to lose. What about the Vikings? How are they getting beat?
Well, I think first and foremost they lose if Dallas does attack them through the air and get Amari Cooper involved and all that. But I also think they lose if Xavier Rhodes are open today and Amari Cooper toasts him for over 150 yards. They're going to lose this game because I don't see the Vikings having enough firepower to go in a shootout in Jerry World. I think the Vikings are going to face a tough matchup here, but the ball's in Dallas's court. Put the ball in the air, attack Xavier Rhodes with Amari Cooper, and you're going to win this football game. Again, if you establish the run and lean on Ezekiel Elliott for a very very inefficient 3.9 yards per carry, you're not going to win. The Vikings lose if Xavier Rhodes doesn't show up and they struggle to kind of put up points in a shootout.
Yeah, you look at that, the Dallas Cowboys wide receivers, and you basically have to ask who can cover those guys. I don't know that anybody can. Amari Cooper, second in the NFL in yards per route run this season, right up there in the sort of traditional Julio Jones 3 yards per route run category, which is an insane number. Michael Gallup is doing really well in that category as well.
You know who ranks first in yards per route run?
I do, Stephon Diggs. If it wasn't for one game where Gallup just couldn't catch anything, he would be grading a lot better and even be higher on that list. So you look across the board and you think, I mean, Rhodes can't cover him. Trey Waynes can't cover him. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. I don't know that the Vikings have a cornerback that can slow down either Rhodes or Cooper or Gallup, rather. So that's a big problem. The other problem is that Kirk Cousins appears to be on the downswing of the Kirk Cousins roller coaster. First 4 weeks of the season, we had one game from Cousins that was graded above a 67.1. Since that, we had 4 straight games of 83-plus grading. And then last week against the Chiefs, back down to 63, right? So Kirk Cousins, if the one thing you can guarantee with Cousins is this inconsistent roller coaster ride of grading over his season. He's just started going down again. Will he go back in the tank against a pretty good Dallas defense? On the road, this is like the typical Cousins game where he stinks. Right? It's a reasonably good team on the road in prime time. It's like all the hallmarks for Cousins laying an egg. Plus, he's down receivers. This just feels like a game where Cousins shows up, plays like, crap, and they lose.
I couldn't agree more. I think you could see the downswing here. Now, before we jump off, I know we previewed the Sunday slate, but we got a lot of people in the comments talking about that Tua Burrow Bowl yesterday.
Okay.
And I think they want to know what we're saying about Joe Burrow. And I'll say this right now. I talked to Mike Renner this morning, our lead draft analyst. Joe Burrow, who was ranked ahead of Tua Tagovailoa going into that game, kept his role ahead of Tua Tagovailoa. He looked fantastic against a very good NFL-ready Alabama defense. And I think Joe Burrow, I know it's not on the Sunday slate, but Joe Burrow heading into this draft, it's the number 1 overall pick is for him to lose. And I think he's playing really well right now, making these NFL throws and doing it against great defenses like he did against Alabama.
True. I will say that given how hobbled Tua was in that game, he did nothing but enhance his draft stock as well in my eyes. He was making some incredible plays down the stretch, dropping the pass into perfect spots whilst basically not being able to move.
2 throws stood out for me for that one, and they were both late in the game. The Devontae Smith back shoulder against Derek Stingley was fantastic. And then also this kind of a similar throw to Najee Harris for the touchdown. Making those throws is very difficult, and those are the throws that when we were previewing that game, we said Tua Tagovailoa needs to make those throws. We haven't seen it because he doesn't have to, but he's going against an LSU defense that has some NFL players as well. If he can make those tight window throws down the field with good ball placement, that's going to improve his stock. And he did that with a bad ankle, and I think it was really impressive. He lost this game. Joe Burrow played outstanding, but Tua Tagovailoa didn't do anything to kind of hurt his draft stock. Like you said, I think improved it.
I think both players enhanced their draft stock in that game.
Maybe they'll both go number 1 overall.
It seems unlikely, but sure.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see how it plays out, Austin. Let's see how it plays out. So anyway, that's going to do it for us. That's our NFL Week 10. We're in Week 10?
Yeah, we're in Week 10.
Week 10 Sunday preview slate from the casual look of the couch and sweatpants and jeans and the weird mime shirt.
You always call it a mime shirt, but I think it looks cool. Okay.
Anyway, that's going to do it from us here at PFF HQ. Make sure you flip the channel, tune into the actual games, and let us know how we did. Take it easy.